Pectedness. The rain fell in sheets as Michael drove slowly through the gray streets, his windshield wipers barely keeping up. It was a typical Friday afternoon, dreary and quiet, until he noticed a woman in army fatigues huddled under a broken bus stop, holding an umbrella over a young girl in a wheelchair. The child looked cold and soaked, her legs covered in a damp blanket, her small hands trembling. Something stirred in Michael. As a single father who'd faced his own storms, he knew desperation when he saw it. Without a second thought, he pulled over. "Need a ride?" he asked gently. The woman looked up, wary but exhausted. "We're fine," she said, though clearly they weren't. "Please," he insisted. "I live nearby. Just until the rain lets up." After a pause, she nodded. "I'm Elena. This is my daughter, Sophie." Michael introduced himself and his son Liam, who immediately began chatting with Sophie in the back seat. By the time they reached his warm, cluttered home, Elena's tension had eased slightly. She was still a soldier, still guarded, but for the first time in weeks, someone had offered kindness with no questions asked, and that, she thought, might just save them. Michael's home was modest but warm, Pectedness, filled with the comforting chaos of a life built on love. Toys were scattered across the living room floor, Liam's drawings taped proudly to the walls. Elena helped Sophie out of her damp clothes, wrapping her in a soft towel while Michael prepared hot cocoa. The storm outside raged on. But inside there was a strange calm, like a pause in life's usual turbulence. As they sat around the small kitchen table, Elena shared fragments of her story, Pectedness. She had returned from a long deployment overseas to find her husband gone, killed in an accident while she was still in uniform. With nowhere to go and her VA support delayed, she had been trying to make it on her own. Michael didn't push for details. He offered the guest room without hesitation. Over the next few days, the house adjusted to its new rhythm. Liam and Sophie bonded instantly, sharing stories and laughter that filled the rooms with life. Elena remained guarded, her eyes always scanning, her voice steady but distant. Yet each night, Pectedness. As they sat with coffee after the kids were asleep, her shoulders lowered just a little more. Michael sensed it. This wasn't just temporariness. It was healing. Weeks passed, and what had begun as an act of kindness quietly evolved into something deeper. The house that once echoed with just Liam's laughter now pulsed with shared stories, late-night board games, and the soft hum of a life slowly rebuilding itself. Elena began working part-time at the local VA center, Pectedness, while Michael adjusted his freelance graphic design schedule to help with Sophie's care, Pectedness. The children became inseparable, Liam pushing Sophie's wheelchair with pride, and Sophie bringing magic into their play with the wild stories she made up, Pectedness. In the stillness of the evenings, after the kids were asleep, Michael and Elena often found themselves talking on the porch, coffee in hand, the night stretching comfortably around them. There was a warmth there, unspoken but real. Neither dared voice what they were feeling, perhaps out of fear of breaking the fragile peace they had found. Then, one rainy afternoon, a firm knock shattered the calm. Standing in the doorway was a uniformed officer, his expression grim. He handed Elena a sealed envelope. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Her face drained of color as she whispered, "He's alive." Everything around them, the home, the connection, the quiet love, suddenly hung in limbo. The days that followed felt suspended in time. Elena had learned that her husband, long presumed dead, had actually been captured and recently rescued from a remote camp overseas. He was alive, broken, fragile, and recovering in a military hospital in Germany. Elena stood at a crossroads, torn between the man she had once loved and the life she had started to rebuild with Michael and Sophie. Pectedness. Michael didn't try to sway her. He simply helped however he could, hiding the quiet ache growing inside him. Liam asked why Sophie had stopped coming to play, and Michael could only say, "They're figuring some things out." When Elena finally packed her bags, her eyes were full of sorrow. "I owe it to him, to Sophie," she said, hugging Michael tightly. "Thank you for giving us more than just shelter." Months passed. The house felt emptier. Then one spring morning, just as Michael was getting Liam ready for school, another knock came. This time it was Elena. with Sophie beside her, holding Liam's old drawing. We tried. But it wasn't home, she whispered. If you'll have us, we'd like to come back. Michael didn't speak. He just opened the door wider, and everything began again.